I'm Suzanne Murdoch, and you're listening to Powering Productivity. Each episode, I explore the energy that connection, expertise, and flexible working can bring to your business. Welcome, I'm your host Suzanne Murdoch, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Yasmin Vorajee, creator of Tiny Time Big Results. Yasmin helps small business owners run a profitable business in 20 hours a week or less. A former Vice President of Leadership Development, Yasmin specialises in business and marketing strategy and runs her amazing business from her home in rural Ireland. She's an award-winning author, featured in the Irish Times, the Huffington Post, Tatler magazine, not to mention being featured in the Women's Global Summit, along with speakers including Cherie Brer and Marianne Williamson. So Yasmin, welcome. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Suzanne. Thanks so much for having me on.
Very welcome. So give me a quick synopsis of your story, Yasmin, and how you've got to this point. I'm desperate to talk about your amazing book. And tell us a bit about your story so we can put it all into context first.
Sure. So I live in rural Northwest Ireland, and as you can probably tell from my accent, I'm not from here. I'm from Lancashire originally, but I've lived in Ireland for 20 years now. And I started working corporate straight out of university, and I mean straight out of university. I graduated on the Thursday, and I started my summer internship on the Monday, thinking it was just a 3-month thing, and I stayed for 12 years. And that really led me to move to Ireland because we were setting up a new facility, and so I thought it would be a really good opportunity to work in a different country and just get a bit of life experience. And I moved to Ireland thinking that I'd be here for 3 years, and I'm 20 years later. So there's a bit of a theme going on there. But I was in corporate for 12 years, and I started working in the call center. So I was just taking loan applications on the phone, and I really developed a passion for training. And I kind of got that in my sights that I wanted to be in the training department. And I actually did. I became a training coordinator. And over the next 12 years, I kind of just worked my way. I became senior administrator, team leader, manager. I was developing management programs and working with technical trainers. And then my last role in corporate was Vice President of Leadership Development, like you said. So I really found, I suppose, my happy place. It was in training and coaching and mentoring. And then, it was at the end of 2011, I got told that my job was going because there was only 5 of us in the whole Europe space. And because of everything that was going on at the time, it was like the writing was on the wall. And at the time, my eldest was 15 months old. And, we were living in rural Ireland. And I was thinking, I can't get a similar type of job living here. And so it was really a question of what do I do next? And I'd always wanted to have my own business. I always, when you have an idea, but you don't really know what it looks like, how it's going to work or anything like that. I just had this vision. And I thought, great, now's the time, now's the opportunity. And that's really what started my journey. So that was at the beginning of 2012. And then I talk about the first couple of years in business as being in the wilderness. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. Didn't know how to market myself. Didn't know how to sell. Didn't even know what to sell. I was literally that green. And then I started working with a coach. It was around 2014. And I'd worked with clients in the 2 years of wilderness. And I just couldn't get to grips with what I did. And I really needed someone to help me to be able to mine that, to kind of dig it out of me because I couldn't see it. I couldn't see the value in front of me. And through the work, she was like, you're really good at getting things done in a short amount of time. And that's really where Tiny Time Big Results kind of came from. It was this ability to be able to get things done in tiny pockets of time, because at the time my baby was only in creche for 3 hours a day. So those 3 hours, I had to get a lot done. And that's really where Tiny Time Big Results came about, because it was okay, do you know what? That's actually really valuable for people. And so I started out talking about productivity, but as I did the work, as I was working with clients, I realized that that's part of the story, but it's not the whole story. And that really has been my adventure, my journey over the last nearly 9 years now, as to figuring out what does it take to run a business that's fulfilling, that's profitable. I talk about a business that fills your heart and your purse.
Yeah, I love that, Yasmin.
Yeah, because it makes me feel really, really good. And I think business should make you feel really good. You should feel enthusiastic about what you're doing. And then it was like, okay, so how do I do that? But if I have a few hours a day, how can I make it work? And I've got 3 kids under 10 now. So my time has never expanded, it's always contracted. So then it's been like, okay, I got to make this really work.
No, that's brilliant. And I think as a business owner, we can really have that mindset sometimes of going it alone and trying to do everything ourselves and thinking we can just conquer the world. But you really have got to think, what's going to serve me? What's of best value here? So, no, I think that's fantastic. And I know I'm really excited to talk about the concepts and toolkits that you equip small business owners with. And I know you talk a lot around fulfilling people's potential. What do you think? I guess the question is, what do you think really stops people from fulfilling their potential?
I think the number one thing that stops people is that they can't see the value, that they don't see the value in what they're doing. Same as me. I was the same. Like, I had to have someone literally hold up a mirror and say, this is what you're doing. And I think this is where it's so valuable when you're working with a coach or a mentor or a group of people who really help you to see that. Like, do you realize how amazing this skill is or this ability is? I see this when I'm doing my group programs and people are saying, well, everyone can do this. And I went, no, this is the mistake that we always fall into. We think that everyone can do what we can do. And it's just not true. Like, some people are so good with numbers, and for them, it's just like second nature. And somebody else would be like, oh, get away from me. And what we don't see is what comes easily to us is actually the key to getting that, that little golden nugget. And you think, okay, if it comes really easily to me, other people are going to value that. And it takes you on this journey. Like, I talk about like the business sweet spot, where you find something that you're really good at, not just something that you're passionate about, but something that you're really good at. And you think about, okay, what value does this have to people in the world? And are they willing to pay for it? And I love looking at businesses around the world, and I love looking at what people do, because somebody might look at that and go, oh, I love this, but I'm not going to be able to make a business out of that. And you're like, actually, I've seen some amazing examples of, knitting circles that could be that is $1 million business, where people are doing recipes and vegan bodybuilding. And there's so many different niches and micro niches out there that what you have to do is you have to think about, okay, what am I really good at? What do I really enjoy doing? Are people looking for this problem to be solved? And are they willing to pay? And I think those are the two that probably people trip up the most on, is being able to articulate the value to someone enough so that they'll pay for it.
Yeah, completely. And I think another thing is, if you're doing something that you think, oh, loads of people are doing that, why would they pay me for that? But they miss the whole point that they're always bringing something different. Yeah. They're bringing that nuance. It could be their personality. It could be a slight tweak on the way they're offering it. It could be a completely different client base, but a lot of the time they can't see that. It takes a third party to point it out.
Absolutely. And I think that that's a really good point as well, that, often people think, well, so many people are doing this already. Well, do you know what? That actually is a really good sign that people are willing to pay for it if there's lots of people doing it. Yeah. And you're absolutely right in that, someone, there could be like 10 of you and who are doing similar things, but there'll be people who resonate with each person because of something different, because it could be their style, it could be their personality. If you like, one of the things that I love to do is I love to talk about food. I love food. I love thinking about food. I love cooking it. I love eating it. Anything about food, and I love. And I try and talk about that as much as I possibly can. I'll be like, or I might post pictures of the dinners that I'm cooking, and it all feeds into me as a person. But I remember there was one time where I cooked a lamb stew or something, and I talked about it on my Facebook page because it was in my slow cooker. And so this was, like creating a really great result, but it actually doesn't take a huge amount of my time because the slow cooker does most of it. And even though that's not necessarily related to my business, as in what I actually offer, people could see the connection, that actually, these are some of the strategies that she uses to help her get the most out of her time.
Yeah.
Or if I'm cooking, then people are saying, oh, can I get the recipe? So it just means that they engage with me as a person. And I think that that's what business is about. It's not just about, here's my service and come buy from me. It's actually about, I want to have some fun, and I want to be me, and I want to be more of me, because that is what will actually really magnetize the right people to you.
But it also feeds right back into your messaging. Tiny time, big results.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. It's a win-win. Yasmin, your work really focuses on 4 key principles. You've got the purpose, profit, productivity, and play. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started like Tiny Time Big Results, it was, I suppose, you can think like, okay, well, what I was asking myself these questions of like, okay, so what do I need to focus on in order to have this really great business? And I came up with these 4 principles as a way to guide me, and I suppose everything that I've done has been for me, because that was my struggle, that I was like, okay, I've got this little boy and I need to make this all work. So that's kind of really what drove it. And I realized actually, okay, first of all, I need to have a really clear vision of my business. I want to know what the purpose of it is. And for me, it's about freedom. It's about enjoying what I do, bringing joy to my business and my life. So it was about getting really clear on that purpose. And then profit was like, okay, so it's about a profitable and successful business. So what do I need to do? How do I make money? And this was interesting because I started out teaching productivity, but I discovered that I thought, actually, do you know what? You could be the most productive person on the planet and still not have a great business, because your business model is set up to not make you succeed. If you're trading time for money, if you're only working 20 hours a week, not all of those 20 hours are going to be billable hours. There might be maybe 10 hours that you actually do with clients, because you've got a whole bunch of other stuff to do. And I thought, well, you're never going to be able to break that income ceiling if you're only exchanging your time for money. So then my focus changed. Okay, how can you exchange value for money? And that just then turns your whole business. You're like, oh my God, how do I do this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it just kind of like makes you think, okay, do you know what? I could actually, instead of, so take a group program, for example. Instead of working with clients one-on-one, and I do 10 hours of coaching calls every week because I've got these 10 clients, I can create a really valuable container, a group program, where I'm actually coaching all 10 of those people at the same time. Takes maybe a couple of hours a week. Already I've saved 8 hours. But actually what you don't realize is not just about time saving, but the synergy that container creates is amazing, because not only are they learning from me, but they're also learning from each other, supporting each other, growing with each other. And so actually there's so many more benefits to that. And that's just one way that you can actually create a lot of value and exchange value instead of your time. So that was profit. So then if profit is like, I know you've read the book, Suzanne, but that's like a chunky bit of, the business, because it's like, okay, so let's get this right. And then the third principle is productivity. So yes, let's think about how we get focused, how we avoid getting distracted, stop chasing those shiny objects. How do you actually plan out your time? So we look at all of those things. And then play is the one that I remember someone said to me, like, that's not important. I was like, oh my God, that is so important, because I want to play in the business, I want to have fun, but I also need time away from the business so that I can do all the other things that I want to do. So the 20-hour week business, idea really resonates with people who are similar to me, like they've got a young family and they've got other things to do, or people who want a lifestyle business that they don't want to be working long hours. And so you think, okay, so how am I bringing that? If we rest well, if we sleep well, if we eat well, that gives us the energy then to be able to, dedicate to our business. But if you're always working, if you never take time off, if you're not working on the inner work, like the mindset stuff and the heart work, then you'll just feel like you're on this treadmill. Yeah. It's strategy, it's tactics, but it's also about the mindset, and it's also about really feeling into the work that you're doing, so that it's a very holistic approach.
Fantastic. Okay, so nailing your marketing message. Why is this so important? How can it help you really build the right audience? And how can you leverage that?
So the marketing message, the way that I look at it is like, this is really the foundation of your business. When you think about what it is that you do and who you do it for, when you're able to articulate that and communicate that to the people that you're talking to, and not everyone is going to be an ideal client, but I bet you any money they know someone who would fit into that. But when you're able to talk about what it is that you do and people get it and they're like, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me, then that, if they meet someone else and they're like, oh, I've got this problem, and you go, oh, you need to talk to Yasmin, because they get the message. And when you really kind of, I suppose, embody that message, you're going to attract those people to you as well, the people who are like, oh, I want that. And I think the messaging is important because you focus on the problem that you're solving. Like, if there was one thing that I wish I could say to Yasmin at the start of her business journey, is focus on the problem that you're solving and build a business around that. Get momentum around that. Because once you've got clients coming in, once you've got money coming in, and you can see that your idea and your work is validated, now you can really build on that. But if you're always going round and round in circles, like, oh, I don't know what my message is and no one's buying my stuff, it's because that confusion is now creating confused energy around you. And people are like, I'm not really sure if she can help me or not. Whereas if you're really confident and certain in your marketing message, which is really the heart of everything, because everything else is going to come from that. Because if you know what you do and who you do it for, you're going to create an offer to solve the problem. And then once you know what that offer is, then you're going to create a system that helps you to attract those clients and turn them from prospects into paying clients. That's literally all you have to do in your business to attract cash and clients consistently.
And what is that term you use? Your message could be very simple, very concise, but there's so many more layers.
Yeah, it's multi-layered. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this is the thing that sometimes people think that they need to say everything in their message right at the beginning. So if you're a networking meeting and they're like, oh, what is it that you do? And you go, and you just spew it all out. This is how I do it. And these are, and like the person's going, oh, I can't actually remember what you've said. Whereas if you've got a really powerful one-liner that just makes them think, oh, that's really interesting, tell me more. Now that's opened the door. Now you can have a really good conversation. So it's understanding that there's a difference between surface marketing and deep marketing. Imagine you're walking down, the high street, the main street in your town or city, and you see the shops, and each shop has, this is the baker, this is the butcher, and, then your shop is there. What's going to make them open the door? And if it's not clear, then they're not going to even open the door. And you want them just to open the door and to come in so that you can then wow them with all your stuff. But if they never open the door, they're never going to know how great you could be for them.
Yeah, and it's really got to sound like you. It's got to sound like the authentic, genuine you, and just sound natural when you're saying it, not scripted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing that, when I work with my clients around their marketing message, it's like, does it roll off the tongue? Does it sound conversational? Because a lot of the messages I see can be quite stiff language. It can be quite corporate-y. And my question is always, is that how you talk normally? Is that how you actually would talk about what you do if you were talking to your best friend? It's very unlikely. So you want to really find a way that conveys what you do. And like my ultimate test is, would a 10-year-old understand what it is that you do? If a 10-year-old can't understand it, it means then that you need to make it more plain English. Whereas I talk to people and I say, like, I help small business owners run a profitable 20-hour-week business. I have a 10-year-old, so that's quite handy. And I say to him, and he gets it, So it's really about having a message that's memorable and repeatable.
So I tried that with my 13-year-old.
Yeah,
he understood it. He said, yeah, but Mummy, that doesn't sound like you. So I tweaked it. Oh yeah, that's great.
Perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. I love it.
Right, Yasmin, here comes the juicy bit, the award-winning book. I've been dying to talk about this. Tiny Time, Big Results. So I've read it. I was absolutely blown away.
Oh, thank you.
I guess as a business owner and a mum of young children, there was a real familiarity there. And I absolutely loved the way I could take it to the school pickups and read it chapter by chapter, and it just completely fitted in with my time schedule. It was brilliant. So yeah, I mean, I resonated with the pain points and the solutions, but what was the story behind writing the book?
Oh gosh, the story behind writing the book. So the book came out in 2018. And a couple of years before that, I was working with mentors and coaches. And, one of the things they kept saying was like, have a book. It's a really great business card. It's a really great way for people to be able to consume what you do. And I was like, oh yeah, I'd really like to write a book. I really would like to. And it was just one of those dreams and visions that I had. So I started writing. And like my whole thing is like, even if you take a little bit of, a tiny step every day, that all adds up. So I was like committed to writing 500 words a day for the book. And my husband would say to me like, how's the book coming along? Oh yeah, great. So it was like, it was a bit stuttery to begin with. And it was funny because at the beginning of 2018, that was the year that I was going to turn 40. And I was like, I'm going to get this book written this year. I was so determined. And that this was it, because it was like a milestone year. So I really wanted to make it work. And I sent a couple of the chapters to an editor just to kind of get a sense of what she thought. She came back with loads of questions. And when you look back and like, I remember reading some of the chapters and I went, oh my God, this is rubbish. This is absolute rubbish. So I binned it, absolutely binned everything that I'd written at that stage. I was just like, no, this is rubbish. And it was rubbish in my opinion, because I had grown and I'd done the work with clients and I had evolved my thinking and my methodology. And now what I had written didn't reflect that. So I scrapped it all and I rewrote the book in a month. So I wrote 35,000 words in a month. And that was April, I think it was, if I remember rightly. And I got it edited and published and marketed in 5 months. So it launched in September that year. Became a #1 bestseller. It won an award last year for the Book Excellence Awards for entrepreneurship. And I was just thrilled and delighted to have it out there. But to have done it, I suppose it was a true demonstration of tiny time, big results.
Yeah, it's a massive achievement.
Yeah, I call it my fourth baby. And, because I just, now it's accessible. Tiny Time Big Results is accessible to everybody, because, the Kindle version is just a few quid. The paperback is just a few quid. For less than the cost of lunch, you can get the methodology around how to have your own profitable 20-hour-week business. So I love the book. I just think, and thank you for saying such nice things about it.
Yeah, and I love the way you can dip in and out of it. You don't even have to. Yeah, it'd be great if you can read the whole book, but you can dip in and out and take certain nuggets and standalone nuggets that can really, really help you.
Thank you.
So, how much do you think mindset and the people you surround yourself can really impact your business and your productivity?
Big time. I think that, oftentimes people might think that I just need the right strategy. I just need the right plan. And yes, you do need those things. But I think that the thing that kind of really envelopes all of that is what's going on for you up in your mind and in your heart as well. So it's not just about doing the things, because doing the things in a certain way will get you certain results. But if you really want to create exponential results and to really grow your business, I think you need to make sure that you're in alignment with what you're doing. Are you in alignment with your message? Are you in alignment with how you market, how you attract people? So one of the things I talk about is, attract with heart. So that if you feel like, okay, if I post that, it's going to feel really icky. Well, that's a sign that you shouldn't post it, because you want to be in alignment with the messaging that you're putting out there. If you're being taught to do sales calls that are really pushy and aggressive, and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that, then that's a sign for you to find a way that makes it right for you. You still do sales the way I look at it is that you're approaching your sales with love, because you know that you can really help somebody, rather than thinking this person needs to buy my stuff because that sale would be really useful to me. No, actually, if I know that I can help you, then it's up to me to actually show you that I can help you, and help you to make a decision, whether it's a yes or a no. So I think that when you think about your mindset and you think, okay, what is it that I want in my business? Because if you're always stuck in that where you're just looking down and you can only see what's ahead of you instead of looking up in the big sky thinking, and you're not looking at the big picture, you just lose so much. So I think mindset and really working on your inner alignment is essential for the business, because it'll actually help you to create those quantum leaps rather than just, kind of doing the little steps that you feel like, oh God, you know what, this feels so much harder. And I talk from, experience on this. Like, there have been times in my business when things have been going amazing, and I can see that when the alignment has been there. Like, when I think about writing the book in a month, I'm like thinking, how? And I look back now and I'm like, how on earth did I do that? But in that month, like, I had a plan. I knew exactly what I wanted to write. And so I'd wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I'd write for 2 hours before the kids got up and, got them ready for school and things. And I remember like just sitting there and I go, right, this is the heading for this section. And I just start typing. And I was so in alignment with what I was sharing. And I look at it now. I sometimes read the book and I'd be like going, did I write this? Because it just felt like as if it just came through me. And I think that's the attitude and the embodiment that I'm looking for every day for myself in my business, and the things that I want to help my clients to do is to really get that. Because, do you want your business to be here for the long term? And these are all things that will help you to create more longevity in your business rather than just going for that, short term quick fix. Yeah.
And I think also surrounding yourself with a support tribe that's aligned with you as well, because it's all very well having that mindset, but sometimes you need some help to stay in that right mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do need to surround yourself, because it's the energy of those people spurring you on, celebrating with you, championing you, sharing with you your upset if things didn't go as well as they you would have liked them to. You need that. And I think just being in that energy can be really powerful. And that's really one of the things, like, love is one of my highest values. And I want people, whether they come and work with me or whether they just read the book, I want them to feel like they're held and infused with love, that everything that I do is infused with love and energy, so that they feel like, I can do this. This is absolutely possible. And when you surround yourself with people, actual real human beings who are like, yeah, you can do this, we've got your back, then that just helps you again. It just raises your energy, it raises your vibration, it raises your frequency, and you're like, I know I can do this. Yeah. And then you just approach your work with like, I can do this now.
Yeah, no, definitely. What about the next steps? Tell me more about the programs and how people can get involved with the work that you do.
Sure. So for me, it's about growing and scaling your 20-hour week business, so helping you to get to that point where you're like, I'm fully booked, I've got clients, I maybe even have a wait list, and you're making the money that you want in your business. And, and everyone is different, everyone is unique, and everyone's number is different. And I typically would say, like, you want to make 5 to 10K plus in your business every month, so that you can feel like you've got a certain lifestyle, so you're not just doing enough to pay the bills, you've actually got more so that you can live that full lifestyle, whatever that looks like for you. And so I teach strategies around how you grow your business through my Fully Booked in 4 program, and then how you scale. And I do that through my multiplier program, which is really about how you create multiple streams of income that just come in. One of my favorite affirmations is, money flows to me easily and frequently. So even if it's like 50 quid sale, you're like, oh, great, it just comes in all the time. And so it's about creating a business model that really makes it easy for you to make money. So the way that I teach is, if you think about what you do, the problem that you solve, and you think, okay, so this is what I teach, or this is the thing that I do for people, for my clients. And then how can you create streams of income that are focused on that, but you create different iterations? So people can work with me through my programs, they can work with me one-to-one, they can work with me in my mastermind. So there's lots of different ways that they can achieve that goal, which is ultimately they want to have a profitable 20-hour week business. And the book is a great place to start, because that will really give you that big picture view. And then when you come and work with me, I can show you the detail. I can show you actually how to actually make this work.
Yeah, well, that definitely worked for me. Yasmin, how has your expertise in the business to date really allowed the real you to shine through?
Well, it's funny, because I remember thinking, like, I worked in corporate for 12 years, and, there was a certain, you had to show up a certain way, you had to dress a certain way. And, there were like rules about how you did things. And I remember when I started in my business, I was so afraid of doing anything because I was so used to looking for approval and getting, because anytime you wanted to do anything in corporate, you had to get your manager to approve.
And even what you say, you have to think about what you're saying. Because I was the same, I was in corporate.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you might have 6 levels of approval before you could even do anything. And there was like a light bulb moment when I was like, you could just do it. You could just do it, And then slowly over time, I actually began to realize that actually I need to be more me, because this is my business, and this messaging is coming from me. So I need to show people more of me. Now, of course, you can decide where the boundaries are and how much you share and what you talk about and all those types of things. But to be more you means that you're going to show up more fully, you're going to have more fun, and the energy that you put out there is going to attract the people who love that. Rather than, I remember recently somebody said to me, well, if you want to attract, it was like a higher caliber of client or more corporate clients, you're going to probably have to look at how you, come across, maybe less casual. And I went, I don't want those clients. And you know what? There's so much power in being able to say that and to not have your knees shaking at the same time, because you're like,
I was just going to say that.
Because you know what? I don't want those clients. I want people who are going to resonate with me as I am, because then we're going to be a match. But if I'm trying to pretend to be someone that I'm not in the hope that they're going to come and work with me, you know what? That's not the business that I want. That's not a business that fills my heart. And, it's so funny because people have this idea, like, I'm taking the example of corporate. Everyone has this idea of what corporate is looking for. And you know what? Corporate is just a collection of people in a company. Yes, they have a company culture, but I've seen loads of people who've gone into companies like that and been themselves, and they have been lauded. Like, they've been like, oh, there's such a breath of fresh air. There's a guy I know, when he does his talks, he wears a black t-shirt, a black pair of jeans, and when he gets on stage, he takes his shoes off and he just walks around barefoot. And he's like, you don't mind if I just take my shoes off, do you? And people are, oh, this is great. This is such a breath of fresh air. Well, like, he's just being himself. And I think that we should all give ourselves permission to allow ourselves to be like that. So if, like if I'm cooking, or if I'm, and I'll do a video. If I'm sitting in the car waiting for the kids to come out of school, I might do a Facebook Live, and you'll see me, I'm sat, the baby might be, well, he's not so much of a baby anymore, but, he might be sat in the back having a snooze or something. That's real. That's me living my message, because, well, actually, I'm just living my life, but that is me actually living my message. So I think that the more we can be more of who we are, then our gifts naturally come to the surface as well. And it's funny because I remember having this conversation with my sister recently, and I thought, do you know what? Sometimes you work with clients, and, it can be frustrating if they're like, if you're struggling with them or they're not getting the results that you think that they should get. And she said, have you ever considered that you're doing something else for them that you're not valuing enough, but they are getting so much from it? And I thought, wow, that is so true. And I know that from working with my clients. So I think I'm doing something, they're getting something completely different, but because I'm showing up as me, they're getting the full value of it.
Yeah. And a line that someone told me recently is, when you are your real self and you're giving your whole self from a business and a personal perspective, I guess, you are operating from a higher value.
Yeah.
You are giving as much as you can, and it's coming naturally.
Yeah, exactly. There's no like, well, I'm going to do it this way, so then more people will come. No. And I do believe that, we're all energy, and so we're attracted to that energy, and you'll magnetize the right people to you. And the more you step into that, like, it's so funny because when I know that I'm really truly embodying what I am, who I want to be and who I choose to be, then just things happen. And you just get like invitations to speak on podcasts or to speak at events, or when you
speak with Cherie Blair,
Yeah, and it's just like, it's so weird. And like, yet, this is the funny thing. I remember have great conversations with my sister about this. And I said, it just feels too easy just to be myself. And she said, but isn't that the greatest thing, that actually you can just be yourself and create those results? And the thing that I love doing in my business is where I've got like these amazing clients who want to do this amazing work. And what I'm doing is helping them to put support and structure around it so that they can actually benefit financially, and all the other stuff. And I think that makes me excited, because if I see my clients like really sharing their value and creating something of value that people want to pay for, like that's amazing to be able to see. And I think that that's actually true financial security, that if you know that you can make money and you have that ability to be able to market yourself and sell what it is that you're offering, and you know that you can make that money, you're not going to be dependent on a job or someone else giving you that. You know that you have that ability. And I think everyone should have that ability. That's what I'm teaching my kids.
That's brilliant. So it's consistent. You have to trust yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Yasmin, where can people find out more about you?
Sure. So you can go to yasminvorajee.com. I know that's probably not the easiest name to spell, but if you actually just Google Tiny Time Big Results, you will find me. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, but go to yasminvorajee.com and you will definitely get some great resources there. And you can get the book on Amazon.
Yasmin, thank you so much. Really enjoyed this. I think we've really touched on areas that a lot of people can relate to in different ways. Right. And I think there's a real need for this type of work and people getting their real message out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on, Suzanne.
All the best. Thanks, Yasmin. Thanks for listening. You can find more information in the show notes or on our website, thehubnuri.com. While you're there, why not join our mailing list so we can keep you in the know about everything we're up to? And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen so you don't miss an episode. Powering Productivity is presented by me, Suzanne Murdoch. It's produced by Emily Crosby Media.